Excellency His Excellency the President.
Our states in areas such as trade, communication, science, technology, and research before we can say hooray. We look for important elements that grew out of our common desire to be upon aspirations of our group. The revised version sets out to revitalize and enable us to be focused.
The census question, given the ensuring that democracy, peace and prosperity should prevail, everything should be understood and acted on, not only as the great challenge of our age, but of the state's responsibility. Each human being is endowed. Multilateral organizations are at its center. It is, however, naive to not acknowledge that with this complex and turbulent realignments of countries and emerging in the best interests of their societies, the ACP group of states sees its defining roles on trade policy and negotiations. A trade facilitation agreement in Bali, Indonesia in 2013. 15, Paris Agreement on climate change. The negotiated trade and development assistance between the largest group of developing continue to lead in implementation to see that an average annual of 400 million euros through our co-managing forces is as our dear Mandela asked of us. The ACP's deeper political relationships and partnerships.
These are the commencement of the ACP, their tireless and diligent efforts see us set up to carry out the review and look forward to receiving.
The role, therefore, and relevance of the United Nations has assumed unparalleled importance. Now more than ever has been a need to be reminded. And today, you, our leaders of 79 developing countries, assembled from across 3 continents of Africa, the Americas, and the Blue Pacific in Oceania, will deliberate and offer
and will be remitted as soon as details are confirmed. I'm confident therefore that member states under the able leadership of the incoming chairmanship of the Honorable
on behalf of the 48 members of the Africa, His Excellency the renowned Uhuru Kenyatta, Chair of the Summit for the Presidency of the ACP and the Chair of this 9th effective regional and inter-regional cooperation.
We help ourselves. In this regard, I am pleased with the fund. Not only did we make it, especially the marginalized youth and women in society and in development. We all have
this chairmanship. And at this moment, I wish to just thank and congratulate the Honorable Stephen Davis, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Nana Addo Akufo-Addo,
group in the world, the realities confronting our respective countries,
and to thrive and be able to realize and develop their full potential. Development in its fullest sense requires the right ingredients to flourish, and we as governments must not leave any stone.
Our relations on the substantial increase in trade and investment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFC. Our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and Pacific regions should take it prepared for an equitable and fair trading order. It appears ACP, committed to multilateralism, should point us to the possibility of...
I thank His Excellency for his statement. Now I invite Her Excellency Mia Moore.
But as I stand here, colleagues, I ask the question, climate crisis puts this issue squarely before us. Today, the relationship that must matter equally to the ACP states and to our future is that among ourselves. It is clear that we must evolve from the cooperation contemplated initially in the Georgetown Agreement with the protection of the export of commodities from former colonies to Europe, to a relationship among ourselves. Our endorsement exhorts us to understand each other, or as I said in the business summit yesterday, not simply.
This exposes our economies to product price volatility, infrastructural development, targeting and fostering industrial development and diversification of our economies.
On the people of Kenya, I warmly welcome all of you to Kenya and dedication, and indeed as he prepares to leave office in the next...
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I note that the revised Georgetown Agreement will be placed before us for consideration and adoption. This revised agreement will reinvigorate our group, giving us more.
The ACP group of states sees its defining role as catalyst and advocate of an inclusive multilateralism. We draw on 44 years of an accumulated experience on trade policy and negotiations to defend the multilateral trading system in the WTO.
Let us reconsider the limits of our imagination and allow new structures to naturally rise alongside the old through our communion with each other. All are welcome in this new dispensation, but we must be prepared to shape it, to nurture it, and to protect it. By virtue of the revised Georgetown Agreement, we can forge an international organization that is suited to our future. We, the members of the ACP, must function on our own terms, not on the terms set by others. Now is the moment where we have a platform to be a common regulatory space, to uphold common minimum standards of human rights, law, business, environmental standards, to be a space of easier mobility of ideas, culture, people, goods, services, and capital. These are the main economic weapons of today, not the size and direction only of official assistance and aid. The ACP cannot be a force for global good unless we collectively own that change. And we all know that lasting and sustainable change, resilient change, cannot be alien, cannot be imposed from outside, cannot reflect standards that we don't own. Lasting change must come from within. It must come from our own will to protect and nurture this organization. Because when the difference of opinions come, and when the conflict comes, as they naturally will, we must be able to have the commitment to do the distance and the recognition that we are always stronger together.
The United Nations and its specialized agencies appreciate the long-standing and close working relations with the African, Caribbean, and Pacific group of states, whose 79 members represent 40% of the United Nations membership. We welcome the ACP Group's continued commitment to multilateralism and strengthening global partnerships for successful implementations of the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. On behalf of the Secretary General, I would like to express the commitment of the United Nations Secretariat, Funds and Programs, to continue to work closely with the group in that regard. At the 8th ACP Summit, Your Excellencies reaffirmed confidence in multilateralism as a major instrument of global political, economic, and financial governance, carried out in strict compliance with universally recognized principles of international law and in conformity with the United Nations Charter. And we see that your decision to choose commitment to multilateralism as the theme for this 9th summit, as a further illustration of your collective commitment to these values and principles, and a recognition of the interdependence and interconnectedness of all the nations and peoples of the world.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 44 years since the signing of the Georgetown Agreement, which established our group. Underlying the establishment of the ACP group was our desire to promote unity and solidarity of the ACP states, achieve sustainable development, reduce poverty within our member states, deepen ACP trade and development cooperation with the European Union, and achieve greater integration into the world economy. Since then, global dynamics have changed. Today's multipolar world is characterized by competing geopolitical interests, new challenges to peace and security, and unprecedented constraints to the free movement of people. But despite these challenges, the ACP group of countries continues to thrive and indeed now stands out as the world's largest transcontinental formal organization. As I take over as president of the ACP group, I want to pledge to you that I will ensure that the vision and goals of this group are placed at the very center of all our international engagements, and that the ACP group becomes a beacon of hope and multilateralism. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I note that the revised Georgetown Agreement will be placed before us for consideration and adoption. This revised agreement will reinvigorate our group, giving us more dynamism, vision, fresh impetus, and drive, while at the same time helping to galvanize the modernization of the ACP group. Kenya welcomes the envisioned transformation of the ACP into a more influential actor in the arena of global economic as well as political governance. As has been stated before, with a combined population over 1.1 billion people and a gross domestic product of about 1.5 trillion US dollars, the ACP group presents enormous opportunities for intra-ACP trade and investments, people-to-people relations, and the celebration also of the cultural diversity amongst our member states. The theme of our 9th ACP Summit, a transformed ACP committed to multilateralism, resonates very well with Kenya's own national transformative agenda, as well as the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. From the very onset, I'd like to take this opportunity to express, through the Deputy Prime Minister, our gratitude to our outgoing Chair of Summit, His Excellency James Maraape, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea. During his tenure, he has provided us with sterling leadership as a group and ensured that the group remains united, vibrant, and relevant, and that it continues to serve our collective interests And we are all very proud of our solidarity and our growing capability to support South-South as well as North-South cooperation.